Dave Woloshin.
We got stories all over the place today. JAC Media Days, they're underway where the Tigers disrespected. We'll talk about that in a second. Is there enough money to go around to rebuild FedEx Forum, Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, a soccer stadium, updates to spruce up AutoZone Park? Sam Hardiman has a story in the Daily Memphian today that says maybe not. We'll get into that in a second, but there's this very sad story. It's the best way I could say it. And it comes from Shams from The Athletic. USC All-American Bronny James collapsed on the court. This was yesterday and had a cardiac arrest. Medical staff was able to treat Bronny. They took him to the hospital. Now he is in stable condition. He is out of ICU. And the family asks for respect and privacy. They will update media when there is more information. LeBron and Savannah wish to publicly send their deepest thanks and appreciation to the USC medical staff and the athletic staff for their incredible work and dedication to the safety of athletes. Wow. I was thinking about this, and a few years ago, Shaq, remember there was some rumors that Shaq's son might come to Memphis. I think LSU was in the picture, UCLA was in the picture, and I think he ended up going to UCLA, and then Shaq's son had some sort of a heart issue, if I've remembered this correctly. But wow, here's a kid who obviously is in peak physical form. You just would not expect this for an 18-year-old young man who works out all the time, is very conscious of health. His father, a great role model in that respect. And you just never know. Scary, scary stuff, sad stuff, but at least not tragic stuff. And so we'll obviously, I think the world will be watching to see what happens with Bronny James. In the meantime, J-Mo is fourth in the American. Is that disrespect to the U of M football program? Let's just go over what this is. Pre-poll today, 25 people voted. I have no idea who those 25 are. Used to be the media wasn't allowed to vote. I actually called Bruce Howard, the Tulsa play-by-play guy today, to see who this voting committee was. And I didn't get a hold of him, unfortunately. I don't know if he is there. I know the commercial appeal is not there. They're monitoring it via video. But Frank Bonner from the Daily Memphian is there. So maybe he was one of the people, because he was there, who voted. I don't really know how it all broke down. But I know the number one team in the first on-site since COVID, this is in Arlington, that was Tulane. They had 21st place votes and 459 points. Hard to not think Tulane would be number one in the poll, right?
I would say so, especially the way last season went. But it could be a one-off.
And the key is that the way it went last year, and their quarterback is back. Their quarterback is really good. I mean, if you matched it up with Seth Hennigan, he might be better than Hennigan. I don't know if they're doing an all-conference team. We'll see. But Michael Pratt is one heck of a player. I have no argument with Tulane being number one. I don't know enough about Texas San Antonio. They were second. They had 9 first-place votes to the Tulane 20, 440 total points. Third was SMU, and I guess their quarterback is coming back too.
No, I think Mordecai transferred to Wisconsin.
I think you're right.
Or something like that, right?
And that is where Luke Fickell, the Cincinnati coach, went. So he would have knowledge of that. SMU with 397 points got 3 first-place votes. And then Memphis behind in fourth, 1 first-place vote. The only other team to get a first-place vote, was UAB. They were 8th. 362 points for Memphis. So almost 100 points behind Tulane as far as where the placement was. FAU, 5th. FAU's got a pretty good program because you know they're going to be picked first to win in basketball. I suspect Memphis will be second in that one. East Carolina, now they're going to have a new quarterback. They're 7.
Ehlers, he was a good quarterback, too. They had a big loss there.
He's a 4-year starter. I remember the very first game he played against Memphis. He wasn't the starter, then came in, and, man, he moved the football. We all went, whoo. And Memphis didn't have to play him for a couple of years, and everybody knew it. We're going, whew, kind of a good thing because this kid's going to really turn that program around. Didn't quite get it all the way around, but they're 7th. They're 6th, excuse me. North Texas is 7th. UAB is 8th with the 1 vote. Navy 9th with a new coach. That seems so weird. I'm sure they're going to run the option. Can't imagine they do anything differently. Temple is 10. Tulsa is 11. Tulsa never, honestly, gets respect in preseason polls. They won the conference a couple of years ago. I think they were picked like 8th. They never, ever get any respect. Rice 12, USF 13, Charlotte 14.
It's hard to get a gauge on Tulsa, too, though, isn't it?
It's hard to get a gauge on any of them. So there have been 9 AAC seasons, 9 AAC preseason polls. How many times do you think the preseason, out of 9, how many times did the media get it right and pick the winner?
Never.
No,
they have?
Yes.
Twice.
3.
3 times.
So a third of the time. But a couple of those, they were tied for first.
One of them had to be Cincinnati when they went to the Final Four, right?
Twice Cincinnati was picked. Yeah.
Because a lot of times, other than that, I feel like it's in a large part a crapshoot in a certain sense. The teams at the top of the AAC since its inauguration have kind of been back and forth. UCF is up some years. Memphis has a bunch of good years in a row there as well.
Memphis was picked to win their division, I think, in 18. When it was not division, I think the highest they were ever picked was 2nd. I think they were 3rd in 20. And so this is the highest since 20.
You mentioned kind of combining the thing you talked about yesterday and what you just talked about a minute ago, talking about the win total for Memphis being Vegas has it set at 7.5 right now. And you were just talking about, is it disrespectful that the media picked them at 4? Well, I was gauging what a bunch of people I like to gamble with were thinking about the over 7.5 win total for Memphis. Because like you said, I see at least 9 wins on the schedule, if not more than that.
I agree.
And
7.5 seems easy.
And every person I talk to, which is not a gauge of the population or anything like that, but just the people that I talk to, all were very skeptical of Coach Silverfield, and that could be they're not privy to, the things we hear about him coming on your show talking and the positivity that we see about his coach. I think a lot of the nation, or probably the national media, is a little bit skeptical of Silverfield, just seeing where the program has gone down in a way since he's taken the job.
That may be, and that's probably fair. I mean, if you look, they've been under 500 the last 2 years in conference. So I'm assuming that is part of the reason for that. I look at what they've got this year. First of all, he keeps getting the top 2 or 3 recruiting classes of the conference.
Well, and they return a lot, too, which has to give you some optimism.
You got a 3-year starter coming in at quarterback. He started his first 2 years. He'll get better. He's good. He'll get better. 3rd year, knowing the system. He's smart. He knows how to read defenses. And then let's get to the heart of the matter. Let's get to the schedule. Okay? Number 1 team is Tulane. They get them at home. I don't think they've lost to Tulane at home in a long, long time. They've lost there. They've only won once in the new stadium. But they don't lose in Memphis to Tulane. Then they don't play Texas San Antonio. And then they play SMU, the teams that are ahead of them, at home. So they got 1 and 3 in the poll at home. The remaining 6 conference opponents are all under 7 on this list. UAB is one of them. And that may be tough because that's on the road. That includes USF and Charlotte. They're 13 and 14. So you look at that schedule and you go, "Oh, they absolutely should be better than 4."
Memphis has won the last 9 times they've played Tulane at home.
I can't remember them losing to Tulane at home. Can't remember them winning. I think the first time they ever played in that new stadium might be the only time they ever beat them.
Really?
I think so. I think they have one win in New Orleans since they moved from the Superdome. So the Tigers definitely have a shot here to win 9 games or more, and certainly to be better than 4th. And we'll know right off the bat with the Tulane game, because I'm trying to remember when that comes in the schedule, but I don't think it's that late in the season. And that'll be, well, that could be just huge, depending on what you have here. You kind of look at the game at St. Louis against Missouri. That's probably your toughest game of the year.
I'm kind of scared of the new Navy. Like you were talking about, are they going to run the triple option? You have to think they're going to run the triple option. What else would they do at Navy?
Yeah.
And that uncertainty is kind of making me a little bit weary.
And is that game in?
It's in Memphis, which is
It's in Memphis.
good.
So the home games I'm not worried about. Memphis is one of the top teams in the country at home since 14 in the last 9 years.
You worried about Butch Jones at all? We talked about that a lot
that game's
yesterday.
on the road, so maybe I am.
That one's scary to me. I don't know why. We shouldn't be. Arkansas State has not put together a product on the field that has done any winning since Butch Jones has been there. I don't know why I'm trepidatious about that game. I don't think I should be, but for some reason, just going to Arkansas State seems like a little bit of a trap to me.
Yeah. Well, we'll hear more because the media days are going on. In fact, I think in 2 minutes, Ryan Silverfield addresses the media in Arlington, Texas at the Lowe's, and we'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow. In the meantime, we got TJ Reeves coming up next segment. Tim Doolin on baseball, who's sellers, who's buyers, what's going to happen with the Cardinals, what's going to happen with Shohei Ohtani. We'll get into that. One other major story this morning that has intrigued me a bit is Sam Hardiman from the Daily Memphian has, I guess, put pencil to paper here. Apparently the mayor went to look at the old Conseco in Indy, which was redone a couple of years ago. That, by the way, I've said this before, but that was the model that the people wanted to use to build FedEx Forum. And they didn't follow the model completely, and I have never understood this. But if you ever looked at the original Conseco, and I don't know what they did in their redo. Their redo, by the way, was $410 million, and that was several years ago. So there are some people that think to do it now is going to be $450 to $500. Remember, the state's given $350. I think with other financing, they were up to $600. There's a little problem with money. The original Conseco had the most unbelievable sight lines. Now, if you were afraid of heights, it might have been a little tough, but they were steep all the way from the top of the lower level, which was a big lower level, all the way to the floor. For whatever reason, and no one's ever given an answer to this, but they started that same pattern, and then about 15 rows before the bottom, they shallowed it out. So those bottom seats are not as good as they would have been, especially like rows 10, 9, 8. They become more shallowed out. So especially if you're vertically limited like me, that stinks. Because I thought that was really and truly, of all the arenas I've been in over all these years, I think, including some Olympic venues, I believe Conseco in its first edition was the best stadium I've seen. I don't know how it worked financially, and then, the boxes may have not brought in enough money. I don't know why they did the redo, but they did. So now they're saying to redo FedEx Forum is going to cost $450 to $500. That's what the Grizz would like. And at this point, Robert Pera has not said that he would put in any money. Do you know how much Robert Pera is now worth, according to Forbes?
How much?
This is going to blow me away, because remember when he first bought this team from Michael Heisley, in what is it, 15 years ago?
Yeah, it's been that long. Wow.
I don't even remember how long it was, but remember, he couldn't buy it on his own. I don't think he was even worth $1 billion. He had to have the guy from Los Angeles be a part of the mix. He had partners that came in. There was a local group that also chipped him some money.
2012, so only 11 years now.
11 years. So his net worth 11 years ago was not $1 billion. You know what it is today? His net worth is the 11th richest owner in all of sport. He is now worth $15.5 billion. So in an 11-year period of time, he's increased his wealth by 15 times.
It's unbelievable.
Good for him.
Yes, certainly.
What a life. But, when you got $15.5 billion, maybe you ought to put a little toward the redo. Now, look, he could pick up his team and take it away. He could have. He actually, I think, took that threat away, at least till 29 or whatever it is. But if Memphis is going to redo this, you're going to get a clause in there that he can't move it for an even more extended period of time. But again, if it's 450 to 500, we know Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium is 150 to 200. They've already started to make moves on that. Right now, they have already pretty well stated this is what we're doing. They're committed to the USFL. We're moving the press box to the other side. We're going to have premium seating on this side. We're redoing the outside. I don't know if it'll get to $200 million now because you might not have that fancy stuff outside because that costs money. And I don't know if they'll have it, but if you add up 500 and 200, that's $700 million. It's 50 for the soccer, that's $750. It's 20 to spruce up AutoZone Park. So we're talking about a budget of $770. You got $350 from the state. I think you were working an entertainment district and whatever to figure out you'd get near $600 million. You're still $170 million short. How are they going to make this work?
This seems to be like the ongoing battle in every city all the time is who's going to pay for the renovations of the stadium or the new stadium. One day I want to live to see a day where there's a proposal for a new stadium and we know immediately where the money's going to come from. A little bit here, a little bit there, all that kind of stuff, because this debate is always ongoing in sports.
Let me just say this. When ballparks and the major leagues began, and this is in the early 1920s, right? Cities didn't build stadiums for teams. Comiskey Park was named after Charles Comiskey, the White Sox ballpark that now doesn't exist because they moved across the street, and city paid for it, and now they got a sponsor, and so that's what the ballpark is called. Wrigley Field. You know who that was named after?
The Wrigley Gum Company.
Philip K. Wrigley, who owned Wrigley Gum. Exactly. The owners paid for their stadiums. Governments did not.
Where did that change? It occurred to the owners that this is such a public venue that supports the city so much that they should be chipping in for it. I would imagine that's something an owner might say.
Great cities understand that you have to have amenities to bring people in. And I've said this before when I talk about Memphis City Golf. I mean, we have a great zoo. Pink Palace, which is now the Memphis Museum of Science and History, is it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is. I still call it the Pink Palace. It's a good museum. You've got to have museums. Dixon Art Gallery, Brooks, great places to see art. Cities have to have amenities to attract people that have some wherewithal. And as the NFL in particular grew more popular, and Major League Baseball grew more popular, and until the 70s, it was still the number one sport in America, and they started to expand, governments wanted those entities. So they would say, hey, I'll tell you what, you come here, we'll build you the stadium, and we'll lease it to you for $1 a year or something, something crazy.
Just fill it with this many people per night, that kind of thing.
Well, look at Memphis with FedEx Forum.
That's right.
Memphis built FedEx Forum, and instead of running it themselves, they let the Grizzlies run it. And the Grizzlies set the rental fee that the University of Memphis pays for it.
Oh, is that right? So that goes directly to the Grizzlies.
Oh, yeah. And that's why it varies each year with the attendance, if they bring in so much attendance, because the Grizzlies have the rights to concessions.
I see.
So this happened a long time ago, where governments wanting amenities for their cities would put up money to lure those teams. And you know, and I know right now, Seattle, well, they built that stadium for the Kraken, for the hockey team.
Right.
But they would do whatever they would have to in order to lure back an NBA team. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Vegas will do anything to bring a baseball team in. I suspect Nashville would do the same. Look what they've done. They gave $1 billion to the Titans for a new stadium.
Maybe even for themselves to host a Super Bowl. I mean, if that's what you're thinking down the stretch.
And what does a Super Bowl mean to a city?
A packed city.
I will give you this, and it's a perfect send-off to get into the break to bring in T.J. Reeves. When Tampa hosted their first Super Bowl, it was a huge success. And we'll ask him. The population of Tampa increased dramatically after that Super Bowl when people realized what a gem the city of Tampa and nearby St. Pete were. It's incredible. Super Bowls mean a lot. And I can understand why Nashville would say, look, state, we need your money here because we will make money in the long run. It'll help the whole state with tourism. That's the way it works. All right. We are totally underway on this Tuesday. It's brought to you by our good friends at Family Leisure, where the summer clearance sale continues with the all do-it-yourself pools $1,000 off and those special 24-foot round pools. They're less than $2,000 during this sale. It's a clearance sale. They need your help. Move out the inventory. They're going to do it. Select Play Gyms, $18.99, and patio furniture up to 30% off with 24 months, same as cash financing. Right now, available. Get there. I-40 and Whidden Road. And, of course, our title sponsors, Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, where they work with you. The same team for many, many years. John Burnside, David Richardson. There's Rick Fink. Of course, there's Chris True. They've all been there. Now they got Vinny Gerard. He's the guy who is over the Genesis cars. He's a crazy Canuck. You'll love him. Go talk with him and ask about the deal that if you finance with Genesis, you get a $1,000 rebate on a G70, that rocket ship of a sedan. It's happening right there at the corner of Highway 78 and Craft Road. That is the first exit in Mississippi in 78. You know it's Lamar. It's 10 minutes away. It's the place to do car business, especially if you're looking for the great Hyundai product or Genesis product. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis. Back in just a minute, to Tampa we go. T.J. Reeves is right around the corner.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Have you heard about the game-changing jewelry store that's now open in Memphis and Poplar Commons? It's Genesis Diamonds. Genesis Diamonds, started by former diamond wholesalers who decided to stop selling jewelry to the stores and start selling direct to the public. No middleman, no nonsense, no pricing games, no pushy salespeople. It's the only store here with a nationwide low price guarantee, and the selection is mind-blowing. Hand-picked diamonds in all shapes and sizes, from a half carat to 20 carats, and case after case of earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets, and the most impressive selection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in the state of Tennessee. If you're getting engaged or thinking of jewelry for any occasion, your timing is perfect. The nation's leading direct diamond importer has finally arrived in Memphis with values you never thought possible. Come see why Genesis Diamonds has been voted best jeweler and best place to buy an engagement ring for 13 straight years and has never lost a sale due to price, selection, or quality. Genesis Diamonds, now open in Poplar Commons.
All 650 acquisition fee, 30,000 miles, 20 cents excess mileage. Sportage P718, 2870, MSRP 28185. Seltos R752, 4361, MSRP 26015. Forte PG 211771, MSRP 21910. Includes all rebates and incentives. Plus finance through Hyundai. Excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 7/31/23. Dealer stock only. Warranties are limited. Powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
Hey, Jeff Allen, I hear things are heating up over there at Gossett Kia South Mount Moriah.
It's the hottest pricing we've ever had, Randy. 2023 Kia Forte gets 41 MPG highway at only $259 a month. $27.99 $34.99 due at signing, and a 2023 Sportage Vacation Ready at $308 a month. $34.99 due at signing. Both 36-month lease.
And how about the new 2024 Seltos LX?
$295 a month with $29.99 due at signing and 24-month lease.
And Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty to boot.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
Gossett Kia South, 2680 Mount Moriah or KiaMountMoriah.com.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wollo said hello.
It's Wrangler season out there. Warmer days, cooler nights. Open roads, endless horizons. And you need to be ready in jeans made for the unpredictable. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
My youngest son, Jacob Woloshin, just posted. The late, great Walter Payton would have turned 70 today. He passed away at a much too young age, that is for sure. We're talking about amenities, and Memphis Public Golf is certainly that. We know how cool it is. The brand new, and I mean brand new, Pine Hill, which I'm going to play tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing that again. There are a few tournaments coming up. The Ladies' Championship, that'll be August 4th through the 5th at Fox Meadows and Galloway. There's the Fox Meadows Championship on August the 25th, and that is regular seniors and ladies, so you're getting a whole bunch in. And then there's the Floorball Championship, September the 9th through the 10th. That'll be Pine Hill, Fox Meadows, 36 holes, best ball. That includes greens fees, cart fees, prizes. There's regular and senior men's division. They've really stepped up their game, not with just building new golf courses, but getting more and more competitions out there. For those of us that are just, well, we like to compete, but we're maybe not elite, but they got it for you there at Memphis Public Golf. TJ Reeves, well, he is elite. His is like the eve before he goes to Las Vegas for the welterweight world championship between two undefeateds, but we got a lot to talk about before we get to that. And I want to start with, and this may be before your time, but the very first Super Bowl in Tampa and the impact that had. We were talking about how cities, knowing what amenities are, have built stadiums and things of that nature,
right,
to attract people to come live in that area. And I said, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but the very first Super Bowl in Tampa changed the whole population dynamic of that region, of Tampa and St. Pete. And I don't know what the percentages are, but I know it went from a sleepy town to a metropolitan area.
Yeah, very much so. So good to be with you. Thank you for referring to me as elite. I know we got lots to talk about, including you want to bash my Rays who've fallen off the cliff here in July.
Not my
we'll get
fault.
to that in a moment.
Stink.
We will do that in a moment. But you're absolutely right. I moved here with my family right before that Super Bowl, what is now 40 years ago in 1983. We moved, and I was in middle school at that time, and it was a huge deal that they were hosting it, and that was the Raiders of Jim Plunkett and Marcus Allen and company, Howie Long, Al Davis, Just Win Baby, beating up the then Washington Redskins of Joe Theismann and John Riggins and company. And you're right, it put Tampa on the map nationally, big time, because they were featured for that entire Super Bowl week. And remember, this is a time frame when cable TV is basically in its infancy, and so the three powerhouse CBS, NBC, and ABC television networks were huge. And they're constantly talking about the Super Bowl all week. ESPN was fairly new, talking about the Super Bowl all week, and they're featuring Tampa. So you're right. And then the area got another Super Bowl 8 years later for the Buffalo Bills and the New York Giants, the famous Scott Norwood wide right, one of the 4 Bills' losses in the Super Bowl. Horrible memories for them. So it's now hosted the Super Bowl multiple times, including most recently the Buccaneer win during the pandemic crazy season. I believe it's 5 total times. But yes, to be in that rotation, that helped Tampa establish from a population standpoint and then from a sports standpoint to eventually land a Major League Baseball team and a National Hockey League team.
Right.
So you're right. Yes, is the answer to that.
Okay. All right, let's get to it. What's happened to the Rays? 30-5 to start the year, 31-37 since. They've lost first place in the American League East to the surprising Baltimore Orioles.
And Baltimore just beat them up in 3 of 4 games. I'm not making excuses. They have played really tough teams in Philadelphia, Atlanta. Kansas City was spliced in right after the All-Star break, but now Baltimore. And they got wiped out in those games. In the total of 10 games, they went 2-8. So the torrid hitting that was going on in April and May, we knew would not last. So that has not lasted. And the relief pitching has been bad as well. So those are the 2 things that have undone them recently. But here's the good news. When you get up to 30 games above 500, which they were at one point in late June, you have some cushion where you can go through this lull. And if you get back on track and just play if they play 500 baseball from here on out, they still end up in the mid-90s with wins and will be in the playoffs. So you just have to be decent. You can't keep getting cleaned out 3 straight or losing 3 out of 4 in 4-game series. But let's see. Let's see if they can get it together. Long season, and they now play the Marlins, who had been very hot until the All-Star break, and then the Marlins lost the first 9 games since the All-Star break, and now rolling here on a 9-game losing streak. So that's the cross-state series that's about to take place. So
wasn't there a moment in the Tampa locker room where some pitcher got into an argument with somebody, and they
this is the phenom shortstop Wander Franco, and
right.
It's varying accounts of what happened. He was not hustling on a couple of plays, Cadillacing. He's a 20-year-old. He's been given a lot of money, and so trying to get through to him and impress upon him about hustle, about doing it the right way, led to whatever happened. Because there's rumors about verbal altercation. There's even rumors about a punch being thrown. None of that's confirmed by any of the players or anybody that was actually there on what happened. So he sat down for a couple of games. And since then, the offense has been inconsistent at times. He's been back, Franco. He's been good. He was an all-star at the All-Star game in Seattle. And again, they are explosive when they get it right. They are aggressive at the plate. They steal bases. They score runs. Let's see if that reignites starting with this Marlins series. We'll find out.
Tough question for you. British Open went to Brian Harman. That was a really nice story. Second oldest American ever to win that. And he wins by 6 strokes, and he was a long shot at best. I mean, nobody thought about Brian Harman before this thing began. So now who would be your player of the year, keeping in mind Rahm won the Masters, Koepka won the British, Wyndham Clark won the U.S. Open, McIlroy's won a couple of times, Scheffler's always in the top 15. Who's your player of the year, TJ
And I'm
Reeves?
trying to recollect who won the Players' Championship because that was somebody different off the top of my head in March.
J-Mo is on that immediately.
So J-Mo can get on that as well. And Rahm obviously won at Augusta, and Rahm was in the mix here as one of the top 2 or 3 golfers for the weekend, and Rahm has a couple of other wins as well this year.
Scheffler won the Players.
Scheffler won the Players.
And don't forget,
Scheffler has not finished outside the top 20 of any tournament this year, including the majors. He was in the top 20.
I thought he was.
I believe that's correct.
I thought he was 23rd at the.
So it's top 25.
Yeah.
He's not finished outside the top 25 of any tournament he's been in this year.
And let's
so there's
not
a
forget
case there too.
Let's not forget the Ricky Fowler story.
Correct. But again, that's a runner-up at the U.S. Open, or finished third, and then he won a tour event.
But then
after
he won
that.
an event, right? He
I
won
think
his own
right now
tournament,
it's probably
the Rocket.
Rahm. Would you go Rahm on the vote going into the PGA Tour playoffs, which may decide it?
No, I think I go with no one. I have to look at the playoffs.
You're not giving the award out. What are you, Scrooge?
No,
You're not going to give it to
no.
anybody? You got to give it to somebody.
I'm going to give it to somebody after the playoffs because that's really going to determine this now. Because I seriously, I think you've got to put all those guys we mentioned, including Fowler, into the mix. And if one of those guys comes out and wins it, it's from that group. But if that is the winner, that's your guy, isn't he?
Right. And the important thing is that Koepka, for example, who was runner-up at Augusta and won the PGA, he's not playing on the PGA Tour.
Right.
He's not eligible for the award anyway. So it's basically Rahm, Scheffler at this point. Brian Harmon, this is the only event that he's done anything, and who knows what he does after here with the playoffs. So, and then Wyndham Clark. Wyndham Clark was up on the leaderboard this past weekend. I agree with you that it's wide open. Yeah, but I think Rahm right now has the advantage with the way that he's played.
Another tough one. Another tough one for you. You're Zach Johnson. You're the captain of the Ryder Cup team. Brooks Koepka sits right now, I think, at number 6 in Ryder Cup points. So, the top 6 by points are automatically in. And then, used to be it was 8 and 4, where you had 8 picks and 4 captain picks. Now it's 6 and 6. So Zach Johnson gets to pick the next 6. Let's just say because Koepka is now out of opportunities to pick up points, let's say Brooks Koepka finishes 9th, 10th in the points. Do you pick him from the Live Tour? Do you pick him on your USA Ryder Cup team to compete against Europe in Rome in September?
Those are two different questions. What would I do and what would he do? I would pick him. What is he going to do politically compromised in this scenario? Because it's still, it is murky as to whether or not it's still at odds on picking him. So I would take him. But I don't know that Zach Johnson is going to take him if he's 9th or 10th or 11th under your hypothetical for the Ryder Cup standings.
I think he'll take him. And because I've heard Zach Johnson say in the past, I want the best players.
There you go.
And there's no doubt, and you know how anti-live I am, there is no doubt Brooks Koepka is one of the top 12 American players. You got to have him on your team.
And by the way, Rahm has been an outspoken critic that he wants Sergio Garcia as a captain's pick for the European team because he wants to play with him in the team matches. And Sergio has got more points in team matches than any Ryder Cup player ever,
right,
American or European.
But that is Sergio.
Is he going to get his way? I don't know that he's going to get his way on the European team.
I don't know that you will. And first of all, that's one Spaniard sticking up for another Spaniard, right? That's one thing.
But you said the key phrase, and we've talked about this.
Right.
Do we want to win? Is the objective, do you want the best players on this team, and do you want to win? Because that's what Rahm is saying. Why would we not want him, and why would I not get the chance to play with him, and we'll go pick up a couple
I would want the 37-year-old Sergio that underachieved but was always a great Ryder Cup player and finally won a Masters at 37. I'd take that guy. But how old is Sergio now? He's 40-something. And he's not that good. That's why I wouldn't take him. There's a bunch of European players that are good.
I will tell you in the U.S. room, they'll be elated if he's not there in the team matches.
How old is he, J-Mo?
43.
Even in the most recent Ryder Cup.
He's 43.
Okay, but in the most recent Ryder Cup, I believe he won at least one, if not both of the team matches that he was in, at least a couple of them.
Well, I know he's the greatest European Ryder Cup player of all time. I know that.
In terms of points.
You know what? Ian Poulter, in terms of winning percentage, may be the greatest of all.
Right.
I wonder if
he'll be neither one of them are going to play for the European team, it doesn't look like, unless they get the captain.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. All right, camps open today, including your Bucks.
Yes.
What do you think about the story? A couple things here that's going on with the NFL. One, 10 players have now been suspended for gambling. It's amazing to me, not that I think players should gamble, but it's amazing to me that the same league that is suspending these guys, some for a season, some indefinitely, 6 games in one case, they're suspending these guys, yet they're accepting all this money and advertising in stadium about gambling. I mean, it is the biggest hypocritical thing ever. I don't know what's right or what's wrong totally.
The best response I can give you as somebody that works for an NFL team is the rules for thee are not for me. So, the old line that we keep hearing over and over again. So in this instance, we all understand that gambling in most states is legal. Federally, it's legal. Supreme Court said so. Most states, it's now legal in some form or fashion. But if the NFL says the rules are, as a player, you can't do this if you're going to play in our league. And by the way, the signs are posted in big letters, big different colors of "Do not gamble." And here are the restrictions about that, including on other sports. You're not allowed to do it. And so I understand where the league has made it clear privately to the players, signs up and everywhere else, that if you do this, you are risking being suspended and being out from the league. And we're not going to go on and on for 15 minutes about it right here, but just the Cliff Notes version is, if a player has insight that somebody on his team is hurt and now suddenly decides to bet on the other team, I mean, how catastrophic is that? But here's another thing that people don't take into account. If you're a player and you've been betting on your team to win every week, whoever that player is, for the Indianapolis Colts, the New York Jets, the LA Chargers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you've been betting on your team to win over and over again, and people have caught on to you and your betting, and now suddenly you don't bet on your team to win. It's like a red flag. You know this, Wolo.
I agree.
Don't bet on the opponent of that team. So the league doesn't want to deal with it. They've gone out of their way over and over again to say, we realize this is legal. We realize we have a team in Las Vegas. We realize we're going to play a Super Bowl eventually in Las Vegas. But for the players, you can't do this. So it's the league's policy. There you go.
Last thing, AAC Media Days in Arlington as we speak. I believe Ryan Silverfield may be done, may be finishing up. But your alma mater picked fourth. Your team.
Who did they pick first in the AAC?
Tulane, the defending champions.
Tulane, the defending champ. And
Texas,
the Tigers fourth.
Texas, San Antonio 2, SMU 3, Memphis 4.
And then you're going to tell me to get your binoculars out and look way down the list for the University of South Florida in Tampa. Your team that you broadcast for many years. Previously,
USF.
yes. Mrs. Reeves' team. She is a proud graduate of the University of South Florida.
Mrs. Reeves' team is picked 13 out of 14. Only Charlotte is behind them.
And Charlotte hasn't been D1 that long.
Is there
just now into the league, right?
Any discussion in Tampa?
Not much.
On the Bulls?
Alex Golesh, the former Tennessee offensive coordinator, takes over, and he's got his work cut out for him and needs to win and win and win.
How many coaches has USF had in the last 10 years? Seriously.
So we're going back to Willie Taggart giving the job up to go to Oregon before he eventually went to Florida State after 1 year. So Charlie Strong, and he's gone, and Jeff Scott after Willie Taggart. So Charlie Strong and Jeff Scott both fired, and now we're on coach number 3 since Willie Taggart left after the 26 or 2017 season. So this is the third different coach post Willie Taggart in about the last 6 years.
So it's 4 and 7 if you count Taggart. Wow.
Correct.
That's
correct. But he left of his own volition, and Charlie Strong, by the way, had a 10-win season the first year after Taggart left, and that seems like it's on the moon. That was a long time ago.
Sure does.
You're talking about a team that has one Division I FBS win the last 2 years.
Lord.
Got to be better.
No doubt.
Got to be better coming up.
We have our usual Mel's bet, although does Mel still exist when the Tigers take on USF?
We will have a Mel's bet, yes. And we will have a Mel's bet week 2 with Bears Buccaneers coming up this season.
Yes, we
We're always
will.
Down for the Mel's hot dog.
Oh, yes, we will. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. I'll be gone next week.
Always good to be with you. I know you're on vacay next week. We will catch up in the throes of training camp, et cetera, in a couple of weeks. I'm off to Vegas for the World Welterweight title fight.
So wait a
Saturday
second.
night.
That's the Battle of the Undefeateds. That's
Battle
like
of the
Leonard
Spence,
versus Hearns.
Terrence Crawford is stroking up. We love the Sugar Ray Leonard Thomas Hearns, my friend, from 40 years ago. Speaking of 40 years ago.
Well, I loved that whole era, that welter with Hearns
There is
and
a
Leonard.
chance that Sugar Ray Leonard will be in and around the media center, and I cannot wait to be around that out in Vegas and for this fight.
That
so I'll
group,
report back at a later date.
You don't have that was the greatest group of all time because you had Roberto Duran and you
Marvin
had
Hagler.
Marvin Hagler.
Yes.
And guys like Mustafa Hamsho were in that grouping too. I'm just telling you, they were unbelievable. Who wins the fight, real quick?
I think it's Errol Spence who wins and becomes undisputed world welterweight champ, and then brings up comparisons to Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Ray Leonard. We shall see. Should be a lot of fun.
By the way, there's an incredible, just came out yesterday, brand new documentary, HBO, on Oscar De La Hoya called The Golden One or The Golden Boy or something like that.
Yep.
Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it.
Always good to be with you. Have fun on vacay. I'll report back in a couple of weeks on all things training camp, college football here before long. Be well. See you later.
You too. That is TJ Reeves in Tampa, brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, that tune-up. 384-3511. It's preventative medicine. It's chicken soup for your system. It'll make it last longer. Your energy bills goes down because you will be in sync. You'll be efficient. This is what they do. They come in, they tune up 16 points inside, they clean up all the outside dirt and grime and leaves, and then you're humming, and your system will last longer. 384-3511. Get that famous tune-up from Conway. Back in just a minute, Tim Doolin, our baseball guy. He's next.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM. And 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Your favorite Italian pasta company in Delhi, Lucchese's, now ships. For over 25 years, Memphis has trusted Lucchese's to feed their loved ones, and now they've crafted 3 great comfort food meals that can be shipped across the country to your friends and family. Enjoy lasagna, ravioli, spaghetti, Italian spinach, and delicious sauces with no MSG, no preservatives, and no artificial colors. All you need to do is go to lucchese's.com to place your order or call 901-766-9922.
Do you have heart failure and often hear,
"Those stomach issues ruined your birthday"?
"You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa."
Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis.
If these seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, talk to your cardiologist. Ask about transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR-CM, a rare and underdiagnosed disease that gets worse over time. Learn more at connecttoyourheart.com. That's connecttoyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's Wrangler season out there. Warmer days, cooler nights. Open roads, endless horizons. And you need to be ready in jeans made for the unpredictable. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
How do you own the day in sports? You make incredible plays. How do the rest of us own the day? With Irish Spring. Fresh, clean Irish Spring scent and those sensational Irish Spring suds. You know what I'm talking about. It's like the perfect morning reset. You leave the shower all geared up, make today a grand slam or a slam dunk, whatever sport you're into right now. When the spring hits you, you're ready. So pick up Irish Spring today.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Breaking news from the NBA, Jaylen Brown, Boston Celtics superstar, 5-year extension, Supermax, $304 million. That's almost $61 million a year if I do my math correct. Wow. That may be the best deal of all. Totally guaranteed. They pay for all the travel. You had nothing on you. The golfers got to pay their own travel and things like that. That's incredible.
While you're talking to Tim, I'll break it down by minute played. How much money he's making
I
per minute
want to hear
played.
that. That is terrific. We are going to talk to Tim Doolin, our baseball guy. He's brought to you by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. If you're ready to make that commitment to build that dream home, maybe you're looking for land, he's got it. Maybe you got land, you've had it for a long time, you've been waiting on this, now you're ready. He knows how to utilize that land. Maybe you're looking for a renovation, you want to completely change the home that you're on because you love your lot, you love the comfortable feeling you get with it. I call it renovation with innovation. He does it all. All you got to do is go to kengarland.com and see what I'm talking about. Then call 751-1632. Ken Garland's a fun guy to talk to. He sees little details, big picture. He'll tie it all together for you and then work very closely with you to make sure you get what you expect. Quality construction on time, on budget. That is what Ken Garland Custom Home Builders is all about. So we head somewhere. I'm not exactly totally sure where Tim Doolin is today. I know I called him earlier. He goes, quick, I'm managing right now. So where are you?
I'm in Hoover, Alabama.
Hoover. All right.
I have to admit, yep.
Have you gone to Gian Marcos for dinner?
I have not this trip, but I have been there.
That's one of my favorite restaurants in America right there, and reasonably priced, by the way. We got buyers, we got sellers. Cubs just took 3 out of 4, but they're playing another big series this week. Will the Cardinals be sellers as the deadline gets closer and closer?
You know, for some reason, I think they're going to be. I mean, I don't really have anything to justify because for years they've always been in the race, and even when they weren't as far back as they are now, they've kind of stayed true to what their organization's been about, and just staying with their guys, and it's usually worked out. But for some reason this year, I think they're going to be sellers, and I think that it'd probably be a good time to do that.
Who do you think would be gone? Would they let Goldschmidt or Arenado go?
I don't think so, Willow. I think those guys still got some years in the tank. And I think that they are the core nucleus of that clubhouse. After losing guys like Yachty and obviously Albert when he came back, I think that I think you're better off giving up some young prospects than you are giving up veteran guys.
So do you think the shortstop in Memphis, who has such an upside, he's been great at AAA, do you think he would be possibly moved?
Well, I think so, but here's the deal: is you're going to have to be really strategic in making sure that if you're not trying to sell to get back in it, and you're trying to build the organization, I think it's going to be a situation where you got to make sure you're getting what you need. And I don't know that shortstop for me. Shortstops are hard to find in the big leagues, and guys that are look at DeYoung. I mean, they thought he was going to be the answer, and he kind of falters, and I think he's just a solid major league player. He's not an everyday prototypical shortstop in today's world where he's going to hit you 25 to 30. They thought he was, but he's not that guy. So I don't know that you trade that shortstop. I think you got some outfielders that you could move. Obviously, you don't want to give up too much pitching because that's hard to get and hard to develop and hard to keep. So it'll be interesting.
I've seen where DeYoung would be on that list, and they would move up the shortstop from here.
Well, I would do that, but you're not going. If you trade DeYoung, you're trading a pretty big contract for not so much production. That's the problem.
Yeah, and then I've seen Flaherty on some lists for being moved.
Yeah, I mean I can see that, but again, everybody wants more. They want more than what the other team's willing to give, and so they could have. I'm sure they're open to it, but to several trades, but it's got to make good sense. That's the key for everybody.
So what happens in that division? Brewers now lead by a game and a half. They play 2 more with the Reds next couple of games. Cubs are playing the White Sox in interleague. Cubs still have an outside chance. 7 off the pace, 5 off the wild card. Do the Cubs become sellers? Who wins this division?
I think it's a situation where there's going to be some excitement in Cincinnati. They got some good young players. They got guys that are electric. I don't know how much depth they've got in the bullpen that's going to allow them. right now, I would probably say the Brewers because they've been there. They've been in the race year in and year out for the last several years. Obviously, hadn't gotten it done on a consistent basis, but I would say the Brewers and then the Reds, and then the Cubs are right there in the mix where typically the Cardinals and the Brewers have been. So. Again, the Central is always the most interesting division, right? It always is.
Do you realize the Cubs are the only team in that division with a positive run differential?
Yeah, go figure, right?
I know. Crazy. Shohei Ohtani, is he going to become a Dodger and stay in Los Angeles? Will Artie Moreno, the owner of the Angels, become a seller in all of this? What's going to happen with Shohei?
Well, it's been all over the social media platforms that he doesn't want to do a deal with the Dodgers and make them even better. But at the end of the day, people are going to help him make decisions based on what's best. Well,
the Angels are only 7.5 behind the Rangers. They're 4.5 behind making the wild card. Why would you sell now?
He's not going to. He's not going to unless it goes south real fast, and we're running out of time, right? So, I don't know that he's going to move him. I'd be shocked if he moves him.
I hope he doesn't. I hope he stays there at least till the end of the year. I don't know where he'll end up next year because it looks like Ohtani does not want to stay. What do you think about Baltimore and the Rays collapse?
Well. Baltimore's been in the cellar for so daggum long, and they finally have had some really good drafts. They've got a great minor league system that used to be not very good, and now it's being built up. So again, it's so hard to develop young players and then teach them how to win at the big league level. It's not usually one of those situations that happens really, really fast. So. And the Rays have always played that. They played the analytics game, they played the small ball game, and they're not executing those things right now when they need to.
All right, last thing: how are the locals, the Doolin Dodgers, doing in all these national tournaments?
We are in the Final Four of a national championship in Hoover with a perfect game. I think there were 100 some odd teams. It's crazy, and our 17U team is actually in Farmington, New Mexico, at the Connie Mack World Series.
Oh, yeah. I did a Connie Mack World Series back in 1983.
Yes, you did.
I remember it well.
Yes, you did.
Timmy Doolin, thank you much. We appreciate it as always. And, look, I'm off next week, so we'll pick this thing back up in 2 weeks.
Oh, sounds good. Well, have a great time off.
Thank you. We appreciate it. That is our guy on baseball, Tim Doolin. He's brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. There's one Tiger to another Tiger. Yeah, Matt Eflin loves the Tigers. In fact, in his insurance number, he puts GUR in there. 901-386-4777 is GUR because he's a big supporter. But he's also a guy with a great, wonderful eye for making sure you're protected. He gets to know you. He collaborates with you. Insurance collaboration, that's what I call it. Teamwork. He's going to get to know you, your family, where you really are, what your budget is, and then he'll protect you with home, auto, or life insurance. Same thing if you've got a mid-size or small business. If you need commercial insurance, he gets to know you, your employees, what your product is. He'll forecast you out. What's that budget? And then he protects it all. All you got to do is make that call, 901-386-GUR. That's the Eflin Insurance Team. Tomorrow, golf picks. We'll talk again. Put the British Open and all the majors to rest. We'll talk a little Ryder Cup. Johnny Radio comes your way next. Have a great day, everybody. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch